about this much of this book was actually really cool and groovy. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about a couple books that I read. The very first book that we're going to talk about is seen here in this 4 collection set, Library of America. This is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick from 1968. I never watched Blade Runner, the movie. I think it's a movie, not a show. And I didn't read any Philip K. Dick until I was in my 30s. I think I was 32, 31, 30, I think I was 31 when I first read Philip K. Dick. So all of these old ideas, all these great Philip K. Dick books, I'm getting to experience them for the first time completely fresh in my 30s, which I'm absolutely loving. It's such a highlight for me. In the future, there are androids, and the technology of the androids have gotten so good that the androids are indistinguishable from humans unless you do some testing to determine if they are actually an android or not. The technology has gone so far that it's like potentially you could be an android and you might not know it. It goes into questions like, what makes us human? Is it love? Is it dreams? Is it emotions? What happens if you put those things into an AI and you don't tell it it's an AI? Is that a human? It was surprisingly more like emotional than I expected it to be, being a Philip K. Dick book. It was kind of heart-touching. It had a lot of little moments in there. One thing that my mind was constantly going back to when I was reading this was the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. Specifically the remake of Battlestar Galactica that came out, I believe, around 2004. Not the original one from the 80s that my dad watched, but the other one. The androids here made me think of some of the emotional resonance that goes on in that show with the Cylons. You should definitely go check that out if you haven't seen that show yet. The Language of the Night by Ursula K Le Guin. This was her very first collection of essays, nonfiction, essentially. This was her very first one. Published in 1979, revised in 1989, and it has a 2024 intro from Ken Liu. Alright. I heard Bookpilled talk in one of his videos about how I believe it was right after he read Rocannon's World, which was her first novel that she put out in like 68, I believe, somewhere around there. He took immediate notice of how Ursula K. Le Guin basically came out onto the scene fully fledged. In her very first novel, so many of the characteristic author stamps that are seen throughout the rest of her entire career are already visible within that. I noticed that exact same thing, but in the non-fictions. I was definitely really appreciative of all of the glimpses of Ursula K. Le Guin's early life that we got to see in this. She talks about her advocacy that she went, or not that she went through, but that she participated in. It was just pretty much just a good time overall to read this. A little bit of this, and one reason why I go to say that I definitely think she definitely came out already fully fledged was because some of this already is like way too academic, I would say, for what I was trying to read. She's always been very, very smart, and this is a prime example of just how smart she's been all along. I like it a lot. We have Fiasco by Stanislaw Lem from 1986. Oh, buddy. This is a story of human civilization reaching out into space. They find a planet, and it is inhabited by aliens It is a story of us trying to communicate with them. It is a story of it going horribly wrong, and at every turn of the phrase, at every turn of the page, it turns into a fiasco. Would you believe it? This is Stanislaw Lem's very last science fiction novel that he wrote before he retired from science fiction. It is crushingly hard science fiction. The plot is, well, I'll just say not good. The entire first 23 or so chapters of this book are just crushingly brutal science. If you've ever read Solaris by him, which is often regarded as one of the best science fiction novels of all time, there's a very rough bit in that book where it kind of just turns into equations for a good number of pages. The first 250 pages of this whole book feel like that, up until about the last 3 chapters. About this much of this book was actually really cool and groovy. The characters are flat, kind of empty. They're very cardboard cutout like. I respect Lem a lot. I often think that he's too smart for me. So much of this book is more so a essay on futurism and physics and relativity and black holes than it actually is anything like a plot. I think the plot really here is more than anything mostly an afterthought. There were some bits of it which were more entertaining, but I don't know if I could actually really see myself reading this again. For something I do see myself reading again, I read Sleep Has His House by Anna Kavan. This was published in 1947. This is the very first full-length novel that Anna Kavan published after being released from a mental asylum in Switzerland in 1938. After she left the asylum, she changed her name to one of the main characters of her previous novels under her old name. She was mentally broken completely after that point, basically. This is the wackiest thing that I have read of hers yet. It's basically 99% dream logic. There is no plot. Forget plot. Don't even just go anywhere else but here. There's no real plot. It's kind of like just the interpretation of dreams. There's a lot of autobiographical, semi-autobiographical stuff that goes on in here. In Anna Kavan's real life, her father left when she was just a tiny child, and there was a whole interesting relationship with her mother. But in this book, the mother dies when she's very young, and her relationship with her father is the strained one. So many interesting little things going on. It's very short. It's 200 pages or so. It follows a character named B, the letter B. None of the characters in here really have names. One more notable thing about this is that there's a whole lot of talk of film and stage jargon. The floodlights come here, and then through the sides of the wings, crazy shit pops up. Anna Kavan was healthily into her heroin addiction at this time, so she had that going on as well. I highly suggest that you look it up. Anna Kavan. Anything by Anna Kavan. Ice is her most popular. And the last book we're going to talk about today is Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector. This is published originally in 1973 in Brazil. This was my very first Clarice Lispector book. And I'm very happy I read that Anna Kavan book directly before this, because this is very much in the same, and that very well prepared me for this. Very dreamlike also, but it's more so like stream of consciousness, literally anything. Um, but with it comes a stream, oftentimes, of just so much pure, raw emotion. It can almost like hit you with a wave of it. You get to know this person almost in some strange, scatterbrained, near schizophrenic feeling sort of way, when they're just talking about how they feel about things and what's going on, and every single thing gets broken off into a tangent. There is no it's like there is no finish line, because every time you take a step forward, you're following it with a step to the right or to the left. So you can never see exactly what's going on until, like I said, those floods of emotion come through. And they affect the prose and they affect the flow of it to where it really made sense in some way that I'm having a very hard time trying to understand. Um, Clarice Lispector was writing in a way that I am very unused to. She's writing in a way that is rather revolutionary to me. Um, I'm very happy to say that I have stocked up on the better part of Clarice's bibliography at this point, so I have a whole bunch to get through, and I will be putting more of it further up in my TBR, definitely, because this is some world class shit. I love this a lot. Have you read any of these books? What are you reading? Let me know down in the comments. Cheers.